So we've been reading this book about farming. Okay. So, Omar, can you come point to the title for me? Where's the title? Awesome. Can we read it together? So it says farming, then and now. Good job. All right. And then we also have a writer and an illustrator that help with the story. What does the writer do? What is their job? Mackenzie, do you know what the writer does? What does the writer do? What's their job in the book? What do they do for the story? If they're the writer, do they do the pictures or do they write the words? Write the words. Good job, Mackenzie. Good job. All right, so what does the illustrator do then? What does the illustrator do? That's a big word. Do you remember, Caleb? If the writer writes, then the illustrator does what? There's words, and what else is there in the story? What are these called, Caleb?
Farmers.
They are farmers. That was a good answer. I'm going to show you another one to give you. What is this, Caleb? This is a boy and a girl, and they're a drawing, right? Who drew these? Did the writer draw them, or did the illustrator draw them? The illustrator did. Good job, Caleb. So the illustrator draws the pictures, and the writer writes. Okay. All right. So the main idea. What are we talking about in this book? What is the main idea? If it's called Farming Then and Now, who knows the main idea? Audrina, do you know what the book's about? What is it about? If we're talking about farming then and now, and we're reading stories about the books, and Caleb said there was someone in these pictures, do you remember what those people were called? Do you remember? Omar, do you remember? Farmers. So we're learning about farmers and what they do? Yep, and what they did then and what they do now, because it's different. Okay. All right, so yesterday, you guys talked about cows. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember talking about cows? I'm going to show you real quick. Where are those cows in here? Oh, here they are. So you guys talked about cows, and you made a chart, and we said cows get milked. So yesterday, then they got milked by hand, and they were one cow at a time. And now we use machines, and you can milk many cows at a time. So yesterday we talked about cows. Today we're going to talk about sheep, okay? So I'm going to read you a little bit about sheep, okay? So I'm going to get closer so you guys can see it a little bit better. So in this story it says, time to shear the sheep. So we're going to talk about sheep. In the spring, we shear the sheep to keep them cool. 100 years ago, it took 2 people to shear a sheep. So I hope you're listening because I'm going to ask you some questions about the story, okay? So 100 years ago, so then, it took 2 people to shear a sheep. One would spin the wheel to drive the clippers, and the other would shear the sheep. So this is what shearing a sheep looks like. Do you see how the man is getting the fur off the sheep? Do you see in the picture? So how many people did it take then?
1.
Not 1. I'm going to read it again. Ready? It took 2 people to shear a sheep. One person would spin the wheel to drive the clippers, and the other person would shear the sheep. So how many people did it take to shear the sheep? What do you think, Jesus? Were you listening, Erica? How many people did it take? How many people did it take to shear the sheep? One would do one thing and another one would do something else. So if we take one person to do one thing and one person do something else, how many would that be, Erica? What's this? Count them. 2. How many people did it take?
1.
How many people, Caleb?
2.
2. How many people, Omar?
2.
2. How many people, Audrina?
2.
2. Jesus, how many people?
2.
2. Erica, how many?
2.
Mackenzie?
2.
Caleb? How many people did it take?
2.
2. Nice job. One person had one job. The second person had another job. So that was then. Do you see the clock? So now we're moving to now. So today, one person can shear a sheep using electric clippers like you use for a haircut. So how many people shear the sheep today? One. Do they shear it in a different way?
No.
From then, do they shear it in a different way?
No.
They do. They do. Then it took two people. One would spin the wheel to drive the clippers and the other would shear the sheep. But today, one person can shear a sheep using the electric clippers like you get for a haircut. Omar, when you get your haircut, do they use a clipper? Do they? So like this. So this is the clipper. Here, I'm going to show you. So you see the man? He's using the clipper. So it's one person sheared this sheep. Do you see the clippers? It's kind of hard to see. You see them?
Yeah.
Just like when you go to the barber shop or the hair place. Or maybe when your dad gets a haircut, if you see him get his haircut.
Should I get a haircut?
You're going to get a haircut?
I'm gonna get a haircut.
So did you know the world record for one person shearing a sheep is 866 sheep in 9 hours? That's 96 sheep per hour. And this guy says, wow, that's about 1.5 sheep per minute. That's a lot of sheep. So do you think today they shear sheep faster than they did back then?
Yeah.
What do you think? Caleb, do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay. Sorry, I'm tying shoes real quick. That one's a distraction. All right, so that's our story about the sheep today. So we're going to talk a little bit more about farming. So we talked about cows and what they're used for. Are farmers hardworking? What do you think? Do farmers work hard? Yes or no?
No.
Yes? Erica, do they work hard? Yes or no? In here, if they sheared 96 sheep, was that working hard?
No.
96 sheep in an hour, is that a lot of work?
Yeah.
Caleb? It is a lot of work. So farmers work hard, okay? And they work all day long. So farmers work when the sun comes. When the sun comes up, and they work until the sun goes down. Good job. Okay? All right, now we're going to talk about these sheep a little bit more. So I want you to think about it. Do you remember listening to the story? We were talking about sheep and how they shear the sheep, how they take the fur off the sheep. Okay, so we're going to make a chart just like this cow chart. So I got it started over here. And we can use this story if we need to help. I can reread to find clues. I can look at pictures to find clues. Okay, I can look for words that I know to find clues. So I can always go back and look at my information and reread the story to help me out, okay? So if you need me to do that for you, I can do that for you too. So shearing sheep. So I have my title of my chart, shearing sheep. And we're going to talk about then and now. So back then, so we're going to look at these pictures. Do you remember this part of the story where we talked about the then? Do you remember when we were reading this?
No.
Raise your hand if you have what we did then. If you can remember from the story what we did then. Audrina, what do you think? What did they do then? Do you need to look at the picture? What are they doing in this picture? They're doing what to the sheep? They cut the sheep where? What did they take off the sheep? Did they cut their feet off? No, that'd be silly. What did they cut off? What was this called? Do you remember? You have hair. What do animals have? Can anyone help Audrina? She's on the right track. She's really working hard. Erica, what do you cut off the sheep? Can you help Audrina? What are we cutting off here? What is this called? If we have hair on our heads, what do animals have on their body? Kind of like hair. What's it called? Do you know?
Farmers.
Who knows? The farmers do it. Yep, the farmers do it. Omar, what do you think?
So you
Not our hair. I know we talked about hair. Can we read this story again? It's kind of hard. Jesus, what do you think? Because in the story they talked about shearing sheep. One would spin the wheel to drive the clippers and the other would shear the sheep. So they were taking off what? Their fur? Yeah, can we say fur? Fur, that was a hard one. So fur. So then they would cut. We're going to use Audrina. She wrote cut. I liked that word. Cut the fur. And now, what do they do now? Today. So then they cut the fur, and it took, how many people did it take to cut? 2. Good job. So 2 people. Could they do it fast, or was it slow back then?
Fast.
Think about it, Kayla. Back then, was it fast or slow?
Fast.
Remember this one? We were talking about, wow,
Fast.
that's about 1.5 sheep per minute. Back then, was it fast or slow?
Fast.
I like your thinking, but I think it's a different choice. Who thinks they know the answer? Who thinks they know? Jesus. Slow. 2 people, and it was a slow process. So we're gonna say it was slow. Okay, so back then they cut the fur. 2 people cut the fur, and it was slow. Now we're talking about the same thing. So what are they doing now? They're still doing what to these sheep? Back then, Caleb, look at. Back then they cut the fur. Today, what are they still doing to these sheep? Are they doing the same thing or something different? Who remembers from the story? Are they still cutting fur in this story?
Yeah.
They are, right? But are they doing it a different way, Omar?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna say cut the fur because they're still cutting the fur. Because we're talking about shearing those sheep. That's this word right here, friends. You see this word right here? Shearing means cut the fur, okay? So that's what this word means. Cut the fur. And it's different though, right? Because then it was 2 people. Today, how many people cut the fur? 1. Who else agrees with that? That 1 person cuts the fur. Does anyone agree?
Yeah.
Do you agree, Mackenzie? No? Look at the picture. How many people are in this picture? How many are in there? How many people are in this picture? Can you count the people in this picture? Right here in this picture, how many people? 1. So is it 1? Yes. So do you agree with Omar now? How many people? 1. So 1 person. So we're gonna write 1 person. Now we're gonna talk about the speed. Back then, we said it was slow. Today, what is it?
Fast.
It's fast. It is fast. Because what type of clippers are we using?
Oh no.
It says, today, 1 person can shear sheep using electric clippers. So what kind of clippers? Electric. Can you guys say electric? Electric. So electric clippers make it go fast. So I'm going to say it was fast. Or actually, sorry, it is fast. So we're talking about today. It is fast, not was. It is fast. Okay? When we're reading these stories or listening to me read these stories, or Mrs. Cobb or Miss Cindy, do we need to pay attention to what the story is about? Okay, I'm going to read it one more time. Ready? So one more time, and then we're going to talk about the facts of shearing the sheep, because this is called Time to Shear the Sheep. So let's get our listening ears on. In the spring, we shear the sheep to keep them cool. 100 years ago, it took 2 people to shear a sheep. 1 would spin the wheel to drive the clippers, and the other would shear the sheep. Today, 1 person can shear a sheep using the electric clippers like those used for a haircut. Did you know the world record for 1 person shearing sheep is 866 sheep in 9 hours? That's around 96 sheep per hour. Wow, that's about 1.5 sheep per minute. Okay, so back then, let's go over these facts again one more time. So back then, and if you're ever confused, you can come look at the pictures, or you can reread the story, or ask someone to reread it for you, okay? So back then, they cut the fur. Can we say cut the fur?
Cut the fur.
And it was 2 people. Can you say 2 people?
2 people.
And it was slow. It took a long time. Can you say it was slow?
It was slow.
And then now we still cut the fur. Can you say cut the fur?
Cut the fur.
One person does it. Can you say one person?
One person.
And it is fast. Say it is fast.
It